Welcome to CARDESIGN.ACADEMY, and today I'm going to get started on the exterior model for my Dark Synthwave next-gen Corvette concept. And so I've chosen this environment, this color scheme, which is very in keeping with this sort of retro 80s synthwave look with the big floor grid, and really just trying to capture this very planar geometric surface language, and very folded surfaces, and very minimalist with this very strong kind of exposed heat sink pattern, which repeats throughout the vehicle, which is functional in terms of displacing heat from a high-powered battery system. And so in the last video, I set up the vehicle package using a set of wheels that I had built an alias to a known set of dimensions, the C8 Corvette wheels and tires, and then placed the sketch in the environment in life size, and placed the mannequin in there. So basically I have everything I need to start a competent model. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So this tutorial will show you how I approach designing an exterior, and you can see it can be done quite rapidly. So yeah, I believe this is my exterior layer. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing all of this pretty much using the sub D tool set. So going into my toolbars here, I'm going to choose stroke, and using the stroke menu, I'm going to select point mode, so I can define the stroke by points. I'm going to set it to a ribbon and turn on sub D, and then I'm just going to set the thickness of the ribbon. So it's basically going to create a large ribbon. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a set of wheel tubs. So I'm just going to set a cylinder shape that is very closely aligned to the tire. Okay, and so I'm going to get that adjusted a little bit. Grab the points, and for the also get it aligned in. I'm actually going to turn it back into. I'll turn it back into smooth view later, but you can see I'm using Smart Move, where I align my controllers to do a nice even movement in a single axis. Turn it back to smooth view. You can see it's starting to become quite tight and concentric to the rim. I'm just going to tighten up the front here a little bit. Okay, and so that's looking quite tight, quite even. And then what I'm going to do is grab the entire inner row here of control points. I just selected auto select loops. I'm going to grab this whole section and slide it in. And then what I'm going to do is create a back wall. So what I'm going to do is use the extrude function. So as I'm grabbing this row, I'm going to pull the trigger. That's going to extrude an additional row of loops there. So I'm going to grab those and just start to scale those in. So if I go back to poly mode, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to even that out with the ground. You can basically shrink this as much as you want, and I can even take this take this down so that so it's nice and even with the ground. Just try and even it up. You're not really going to see it, so it's not super critical that it's perfect, but try to get it as even as possible. Okay, and also I want to get all of these more or less vertical. Okay, so if I turn this back to smooth view, you'll see that it's a very soft shape. So what I'm going to do is start to add edge loops to control to make it a harder edge. So I just do that by if I go to the polygon view again, you'll see I just select one of the edges, and I click on it very close to the next point, and you can see I've added another row of edges. And what that does is when I go back to smooth view, you see it's a much tighter bend. So just to show you again, I'll add it in smooth view and you'll see what it does. Like that. So if I want to tighten it up even more, I can either take this edge loop and shift it out even closer, or I can even go in and add an additional edge. You can see it becomes very, very tight at that point. I don't think it needs to be that tight. Just adding weight and complexity to the model. I'm probably going to also add a couple of additional loops at the very bottom here. Okay, and then I've got it looking pretty good off the bat. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take this in Smart Move. I'm going to hold the right hand middle finger button and then pull the trigger. That's going to duplicate it and slide it along the axis, the x-axis, all the way to the rear. And as you can see, I'm going to have to scale it up a bit as well. So I'm going to just scale that up a bit. Get it as close as I can. And I'm also going to have to shift it out a little bit, as the rear tire is actually hanging out more than the front. Okay, and then I'm going to turn on my control points and just tighten it up a little bit. The rear one's actually going to want to go quite a bit higher. So you just have to compensate. Use Smart Move again. There we go. And pull this back a little bit. That keeps it fairly round and concentric. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so and we can adjust it again later, but these are going to be the wheel tubs, so the lining of the wheels. They're gonna get assigned a black shader. So I'm just gonna assign a flat black. There's no reflectivity, and then I'll do the same on the rear. Okay, great. So next thing I'm going to do is build I'm going to go back to using kind of a silver gray reflective shader, kind of a dark medium gray. You give it a slight blue tint maybe. There. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is build a wheel flat. So that's going to go around the wheel like so. Okay, once again, I'm going to try to get it as concentric to the tire as possible. Actually, before I get too far, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this inner edge, and what I'm going to do is add a hem flange to it. Because what I want to do is, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit, because what I want to do is have it overlap the wheel tub. And bring that up until the wheel tub is just about to be exposed. And it looks nice and tight and concentric to the rim. It's looking pretty good. Bring it back down. Okay, so now this wheel flat's a bit thick. It looks a little trucky to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a row of edges here, and then I'm going to grab the outer row and delete it. So that gives it a much thinner, slimmer look. Okay, so now I've got to do the same to the rear. So I'm going to grab this one, duplicate it, slide it to the rear. let's see, running out of space here. Okay, I'm going to shift it out a little bit at the same time. Oops. So I'm going to grab the flat. So as I'm shifting it back, I'm going to grow it a little bit. Okay, and then turn on my control vectors, and I think what I'm going to do this time is just simply add points here and delete here. So that'll kind of preserve my geometry. And just sort of tailor it to fit the wheel tub. Okay. You can see the wheel tub is coming, so the hem flange comes in just underneath that wheel tub. And just double check that. Double check the front. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so very good. So the next thing I'm going to do is start to set up my center line. So I'm just going to go ahead and save what I have right now. Let's save it onto. Let's save it onto local. Okay. I'm just going to check my recording here, just make sure things are going okay. Okay, still recording. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to start to build the center line of the vehicle. Actually, what I'm going to do is, because this is sort of this, I have this glass bubble canopy, fighter jet canopy look. I'm going to build that first. So I'm going to select a reflective black, and I'm going to go to my mirror plane here and build. I'm going to go a bit wider here, and I'm going to build a ribbon very close to the center line. Okay, and I'm going to grab the inner row of points, and as I pull them towards the center plane, you can see they just snap to the center plane. Everything welds together very nicely. I can bring these out a little bit, and then I'm going to extrude another row, and I'm going to bring that row down a little bit and start to add a bit of curvature. And yeah, maybe bring it just a little bit wider. And then I'm going to start to establish my side glass plane. So I'm going to come out with an extrusion here. Might be easier to see in Polyview what I'm doing. And I'm going to grab this point and just bring it to the front here and connect that. So you can see to connect a point, all you got to do is just move it close to another point, and it'll just snap together. So easy. So the same thing back here. I'm just going to snap that together and then bring this all the way back to the rear. And so go back to smooth view. I'm probably gonna have to do a little bit of tailoring here. Okay, so just to make sure I have enough width to this cabin, I'll bring this out a bit. That's looking pretty good. right off the bat. You can see there's a nice, if you look at the sketches, there's a very wide shoulder. So there's a wide offset. Oh yeah, one thing I do need to capture is this dip in the belt line. So I'm gonna add another row of points. I'm gonna bring that down here. Actually, no, I'm not gonna do that. What I'm going to do is bring the cowl down below the fender, because that's really what's happening. So I can get rid of that edge there. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Bring this forward a little bit. Okay. Not trying to get it too perfect yet. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to do a quick check here. I'm going to turn off the side view sketch and just kind of look at it from an in view and make sure I have enough width to the cabin. You know, just make sure the driver's got enough got enough shoulder room and headroom. And I think he's been pretty good shape. I might just widen the cabin a little bit more. Maybe not. I think I'm just going to leave it as is. It looks like a pretty nice tight cabin. Just going to double check the geometry here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so I'm going to just adjust a few of these points so I can get rid of some of the holes. Yeah, it's much better. Okay, great. Okay. So next, I'm going to start to build the body. Okay, so I'm actually going to label this layer. I'm going to put this on a separate layer and just call it glass. Glass. Okay, and then I want to lock this layer, start a new layer. And this will be the body. So I'm going to call this body. While I'm at it, I better grab the wheel flats and wheel tubs. I'm just going to put those on the body layer. Okay, so now I can lock the glass layer. I can't grab it. It's not there. So okay, so now I'm going to select my body color, and I'm going to turn my sketch back on, or my side view, and just move around the room a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to start building my center line. So on the front end, this upper line actually represents a fender. So I'm going to I'll just build to the sketch first. But actually this is a fender line. So I'm going to shift it out and turn on my control points. There's if you look at the sketch, there's almost no plan shape to these lines. This is something new to me. I'm used to putting a lot of plan shape on lines, on curves. And what I think I'm going to do is just go to poly view, because I want this car to really have a lot of polygonal geometry to it. So let's get it right in the polygons first. It's very important to really just look at the car as a series of polygonal shapes. Okay, so this is a very complex surface on the hood that I'm trying to do. I'm not going to get too deep into that just yet. What I am going to do is just build a quick center line, which is almost just a perfect extension of the windscreen. So I'm going to grab that and snap it to center. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this in poly view as well. Actually, yeah. I'm going to leave this gap in the center because that's what's going on here. So I'm going to bring this out and actually bring this point in to start to get that folded origami look. Now, if I want to take two objects and bring them together, I'm going to turn on my tool set. Oh, no, not that one. Okay, this sort of this brush and hammer crossing each other. I'm going to hit that button, and I have a set of tools here. And what I'm going to do is merge. So I'm going to grab. So I already have this object selected. I'm just going to click this object, and then these two are now one object. And now I can snap this point to this point. So. Okay, and then what I can do is extrude a square off of here, connect it here, and not quite getting that. Okay, there we go. So see, it's starting to get that kind of faceted origami look that the sketch has. So I'm going to leave that as is for now, and now I'm going to start to work on this this belt surface. So you can see this sort of belt and shoulder surface that runs all the way up the rear fender. So I'm just gonna, and I'm gonna use the sketch. I'm gonna kind of eyeball it and follow the sketch. I'm gonna turn that on to poly view as well to make sure I've got the plan shapes right. You can see the plan shapes all over the place. So I'm just gonna just to get a nice sweep going there. Okay, so not quite there yet. What I'm doing is I'm kind of sighting down the line and looking for any sort of snaking. Okay, so now I'm going to merge. I'm going to merge the shoulder surface to the front clip. So now these are one object, and so now I can start to meld these two surfaces together. Okay. And we'll work on getting the wheel lips attached as well at a later point. Okay, so I just want to delete this point here. So that's all one surface. One thing you want to do as you're building polygons is you want as many surfaces as possible to be four-sided. So try to organize your polygons in such a way that everything is four-sided. So one thing I need to do now is work on getting this shoulder surface brought up to the belt. So this belt surface or the shoulder surface is going to twist from almost dead horizontal to kind of to catching more light here. We'll see if that works or not. And then I'm going to start to build my body side. So okay, so what I want to do is try and align this graphic. So I'm going to bring this line back and up a little bit. And that way I can bring this back to line up with the graphic. And I want that to cut sharply under so that it can really catch a lot of shadow. Okay, and then this rear wheel volume is going to be a separate shape, so I'll get to that later. What I think I'm going to do now is begin to connect the front wheel. So I'm going to select my tools here, merge them together. Make sure that I'm merging the correct thing. There. Okay, so you can see that the alignment of the polygons is quite different. So I'm going to have to reorient my geometry quite a bit to get that working properly. So so what I'm going to do is I'll just start working the wheel. So this is going to go way out of round, but we'll fix that. And it's nice that we have the the wheel tub to work to. I'm going to add another row of edges here. That's going to align my center polys here. And yep, align those. And then I'm going to add another row here. And that's actually gonna align this together. So as I get down here, I'm actually going to I'm going to add another row of edges right along here. This is going to give me a tighter break here, which I want anyway, and that gives me a four-sided shape to connect to my wheel flat. Okay, so it's going to be very, very non-round, but we're gonna work on that in a minute here. I'm gonna add another row of edges here that'll connect to the front corner. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go in and retune this so you can see as I go back into Smooth View, everything is very doughy, right? We'll go back and we'll have an opportunity to fix that. But really, what I'm interested now is just getting the wheel flat aligned here. Also, I just need to get a tighter edge on that wheel flat so I can see it. All right, so I just want to grab this one. Okay, and just get this thing tuned back into a round shape. I may have to add an additional row here just to control that edge there. That's starting to look round again. Very good. Okay. Turn my polys back off. So now I have the construction I want, at least in the wheel flats. So okay, what I want to do now is to do this bottom corner. Okay, so as you can see, the bottom corner actually splits off and becomes the headlamp. So so what I can do is actually delete this surface here, and that's going to form a gap for the headlamp, and then I'm going to bring this back. Now the headlamp is a much slimmer shape, so so I can basically bring this out to a sharper corner. Okay, looking good. Oh, this isn't quite connected. Very good. Okay, so starting to get the theme here. It's still very rough, but I just want to get the whole car blocked in. I think we can drop this bottom of the front. Yeah, I'm just sighting it down the sketch here. Maybe bring this in a little bit because I want to have a more pronounced edge. Keep it kind of square. Okay. Bring this in a little bit. We're going to be playing around with this thing quite a bit. Okay. So I'm going to start building this rear section, which is graphically detached. So I'm just going to be working to polygons right now. I'm going to go ahead and merge with the wheel flat. There we go. That way I can at least start to align my polygons. Let's turn it on again. Okay, and I'm going to put that tighter edge on the flat. Okay, now I can start to bring my flat back up. I'm going to go ahead and add a row of edges back here as well. I think the whole rear just needs to come up a little bit. I'm just trying to get these polygons aligned, even though they're going to be graphically separated. This thing's going to have a very, very short rear overhang. So as you can see, when I turn on when I turn on smooth geometry, it looks very, very messed up. So so now I'm going to go in and start strategically adding edge loops to tighten up the edges. There we go. Now it's starting to have that faceted look to it as I add more edges. It's starting to capture the form vocabulary I want. So do the same to the rear. Just start to start to have some more tension to the forms. As you can see, as I'm adding additional edge loops, it's starting to throw the wheels out, the wheel opening out of round. So I'm just going to go ahead and compensate by moving some of these control points around. Let's use our smart move. Yeah. So it's starting to have a more faceted geometric look to it. I still want to have a bit of a bone running through here, so I'm going to just add another edge here and then, you know, compensate that the wheel flat this way. Yeah, so that's starting to look the way I like it. So, okay, so so now I'm going to turn off my. I'm going to say first of all save what I have again. Okay, and I'm going to turn off my side view. I'm going to turn off my sketches too. I just want to kind of get a long view of the car. I'm looking at it now in full size. It's looking pretty dramatic. Yeah. Okay, I turn my sketches back on. I'm just going to dim them down a little bit. Maybe not. Yeah, just dim them down a little bit so I can get kind of a nice long view. Okay, so now I'm going to do a bit of refinement. Let's just do a quick time check here. Still recording at 43 minutes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to do is keep this to an hour, and then we'll do further refinements later. Okay, so one of the things I want to have a sharp edge here, but not here. So what I'm going to do is start to spread these edges further apart. So they sort of flare out from each other, and so by the time you get to the very bottom of the car, it's very smooth. And then I'll tighten that up a little bit, tighten that corner up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, and I'm looking at the relationship between this point and this point. Maybe bring this point down a little bit. Okay, so one of the things that I'm noticing is that the back end of this fender, it's coming down, but it's, you know, here I've got it crossing over, so I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. So just to kind of explain what's going on here, I need to get this edge coming down like that, and then, you know, there's a little zigzag there. Maybe come down and zigzag like that. Something like that. So I'm going to start working on this geometry here. So when in doubt, go back to polys. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete these sections here and see if I can find a solution. So so one of the things that I might do, I'm going to temporarily delete some of these additional edges. I don't want to delete that one just yet because it's forming the headlamp. I'm going to add an additional edge here and here. I'm going to get rid of this one. Okay, so now I'm going to create that's going to enable me to create a band that connects from here to here and very closely follows that surface. Then I just need to bring this one back to get rid of the twist. Maybe bring it back a little further. Okay, so let's and then we're going to fill this in with a square. Okay, at this point I'm going to get rid of these pencil lines, ink lines, and let's just turn on our smooth view. It's starting to look a little more like my intent. It's keeping the line more linear. So what I can do then is just add an additional edge, and that really starts to tighten it up. Maybe add an additional edge as well here, but let's fill this in first. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so now I need to figure out how to deal with some of what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bridge all the way to here, and then we may have to cut some of that away. I'm going to temporarily delete some of these edges here. What I'm trying to do is just fill in some of these connections here. Maybe this has to come up here. No, that's going to get me back to where I was. It's actually starting to look pretty good. Okay. This is probably going to be the most complex area of the vehicle. One of the things I'm going to do is I want this edge, this sharp edge, to come to a to a stop here. So and I don't want it to continue down the body side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool, Collapse Polygons, and what that's going to do is I can merge one point to another, and then I can delete. I can just select this row of points and delete it. So now if I turn on, so now I have a nice smooth section again here, and I have this edge coming to a nice hard stop right here. So okay, but I still have to kind of figure out this is an area where none of the sketches really quite defines it, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. What I'm going to do is build a little bevel surface across the belt line. Okay, I'm going to temporarily, let's see, let's See if we can put an edge there. Okay, let's just see what we have. Okay, now we're starting to get a defined edge. It's not at all aligned with the canopy. So, I'm go ahead and start adding back some of those additional polys. We're starting to get that origami look again. Okay, so I'm going to temporarily turn the glass off. So you can see I have this plan shape that has nothing to do with my canopy. So we're going to have to fix that. So you can see I've left the glass layer. Actually, I'm going to leave the glass layer transparent so I can kind of see what's going on. And I'm going to start to add some additional edges. Actually, I'm wondering if I can just grab these guys and bring them over. No, that's not going to work. Okay, maybe grab this one. So yeah, I'm starting to create some very, very torqued geometry. So I don't think this is working. It's a little bit of trial and error with when it comes to polys. Okay. So let's go back to, oh, that's starting to look a little better. You know, if I just do that, I wonder if I just bring this over here. It's looking up. That's looking quite a bit better. Now, if I bring it forward, it's starting to align better with the cowl. I start to spread these out. It's starting to make a little more sense. So then the question is, all right, so if I turn off the glass, I'm curious to see whether I like this more rounded shape of the canopy or whether I like this more faceted look of the cowl, and whether I decide to tune the glass to the cowl. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on the glass, and I just think that there's a lot more character in that cowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add an additional row of edges. That's going to give me a much tighter bend in the rail, and I'm going to start to pull that back. And then I can soften it up quite a bit through here, so it retains that fighter jet canopy look. Yeah, that works. Maybe bring it down a little bit. And if I do that, now I can take let me lock the glass again, and we take the main body. If I bring this down, I'm going to start to get a more dramatic hood. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Maybe I can go even lower. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to capture that graphic of the black stripe running down the center line. That's very important. So to do that, I'm going to have to bring the cowl back up just slightly, but then I can bring it more forward if I want to stay dramatic. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so we're getting a little bit wonky here. We can do more surface refinements at a later time, but now I'm starting to feel very good about this belt line and cowl. Not perfect, but I can fix it later. Okay, so another area that's giving me headaches. So let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so another area that's giving me headaches is this, where this lamp is ending. This is often a tricky area when you're dealing with graphics, right? So what I want to do is have a nice smooth surface that doesn't have this wrinkle to it. So the way to do that is I need to add some additional polygons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add a cut here. So you can see that it's starting to get rid of some of the wrinkling. And then if I just start to bring this down, spread it out a little bit, and then I can add yeah. So that's starting to help out. If I add an additional edge here, that helps considerably. But of course now my wheel is back out of round, so now I'm going to grab, this is going to be tough. I have to do it in sections here. Okay. I'm just adding an additional row here, and that just sort of helps to evenly space out these polys so that everything is more or less round. So another thing that helps is to add a bit of a bevel to these openings. So I'm going to auto select loops. You can see it's grabbing the entire periphery of this graphic here, which is fine. And I'm actually going to extrude down just a little bit here. And so, in poly mode, you can see what it's doing. I just need to grab this inside edge because it's so tight. Bring this in a bit. Okay. You can see I've created this little beveled surface. And if I put an edge to it and I turn on the polys, you can see, or if I turn it into poly view, it's quite tight now. So I'm going to tighten up this edge here. So I'm going to use the edge tool. So now I'm starting to get a very nice, precise quality to this thing. So I think I need to just add I just need to do a bit more refinement here. Okay, so I'm just going to add a beveled edge to this inside here. And I'm going to bring this all the way down so it intersects with the with this glass surface. And then I'm going to connect it here. I'm just going to add another row of edges there and connect it there. And now I have now I have this nice bevel here. Yeah, if I add a corner, that really tightens the corner. I want this thing to look really chiseled. Just want to put a slight bit of upward curvature, even though I know I want this thing to look faceted, which means I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to add just going to add an edge here. It's give me a hard time here. There. Now I can just put a little bit of upward curvature on there. So I'm really starting to capture this faceted origami quality that I'm looking for. It's still very rough, but it's starting to capture the flavor. So I want to get a tighter bend here. So what I'm going to do is just add locally a couple of edges here. And so now I have this five-sided shape. Let's turn off my geometry for a second. Yeah, so it's getting a little wonky here. So I'm going to see what happens if I just collapse that into here, and it gets even more wonky. Okay, a little bit of trial and error. One thing that might help is if I go ahead and add the bevel on the cowl here. So I'm going to go back to poly view, and just as I've been doing along here, this is going to give me a little bit of a beveled edge that intersects with the cabin. Okay, and then what I can do is add my pull this one back a bit. Add an edge here to tighten up the belt line. Okay, so now I have a nice tight cowl. I'm just going to add even another row of edges to tighten it up more. Okay, so I'm going to take my glass, I'm going to pull the A-pillar back again a little bit, just to get back that really nice faceted quality. Then bring the shoulder surface out a little bit. It's starting to look like the design intent. It's very rough, but there'll be some cleanup work to do. I think what I want to do before I finish out this session is to build out this kind of C-pillar area, this body color section. So what I'm going to do is save what I have. I'm going to go in and I'm going to temporarily delete these edges that are giving me this nice tight cowl, and go back to poly view. I'm just looking at where this body color section is coming out. So I'm going to add another row here. And then out of this belt surface, I'm going to start to extrude out my sort of sail panel. Leaving this little gap at the center line. It's going to be a graphic element. Oop, I didn't want to grab that. Okay, and the that bevel surface, I'm going to just continue that across the back here. And I'm going to do the same with this edge here. Okay, so I just added the beveled edge here. So this is probably going to look disastrous when I go to smooth view, but let's see what we have. Not so bad, not so bad. Just need to bring these points up a little bit, up and around. I'm going to add some tightness here. I'm starting to get that sort of bubble canopy rising up. And then, you know, there's a much tighter intersection here. And in fact, it's an even tighter intersection. So if I just add another row of edges, that just tightens that up. Now it's a bit messy right now. We're gonna get into some refinements later on. I'm not that concerned about perfection at this point, but it's starting to have the basic flavor. And just do a couple of things to kind of ground the vehicle. So going into my stroke tool again, sub D is turned on. And turn on my reflective dark shader. I'm just going to add a kind of a skirt surface here. Oh, and then, yeah, I need to give it that dark shader. Okay, and then we'll go in later with some of those heat sink details. But I'm just trying to give the car a more planted kind of stance to it. That helps tremendously with the overall stance of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do the same on the front here. Let's turn off the polys for a minute here. And then this kind of rear diffuser is important too. So I'm going to go back to my body color here. Going into poly mode here. Just going to align everything. So you can see back here I have this kind of faceted shape, which I'm going to try to replicate in the model. A little hard to see with the lighting, but I can shine a flashlight on it later. And then finally, I'm just going to add a hint of a diffuser. Now, all of this is going to change. You know, once I get into more of the refinement stage, but it's just helping me to figure out the overall gestures and volumes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off, save what I have here, and I'm going to turn off the sketches and just get a nice long view of the vehicle and just get an idea of how I'm doing. It's looking pretty interesting. So I feel like in about let's say, where are we at now? We're into the first hour, I think. 1 hour and 20. So in the first hour and 20, I think we've successfully captured the flavor of the sketch. There's a long way to go in terms of refinement, but it's just got a really interesting, really interesting flavor to it. You know, very chiseled, very precise. Definitely not of the current design idiom. So I'm gonna quit it here so I can have some time to think about it, to soak on it, and I will get back to you over the next few days with an updated video. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next video in the series.